Okay, let's do this one last time. My name is Filmcore, and I've just spent the last few days using cutting-edge visual effects, 3D modeling, and Unreal Engine to give the world exactly what it needs. A version of Spider-Man starring a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
But you can't do this to me.
Well, I just did, Gobby, but I bet you're wondering why. Well, 3 years ago while watching Across the Spider-Verse, one thing became very clear to me. Spider-Rex deserves his own movie, with his own spider suit, his own arch nemesis, and a trailer that shows his full potential. And if I don't do it, nobody else will. In other words, just like Uncle Ben said,
he believed that if you could do good things...
That was the wrong Uncle Ben clip. I'm still not sure what that guy was trying to say.
Responsibility.
To make this, the first thing we need, like always, is a 3D model. But because people have lives, no models of Spider-Rex exist, which means it's up to me. So I took my old T-Rex, brought him into a new project, and got ready to give him his own Spidey suit. In the comics, he's just painted red and blue because he gets his powers from a symbiote thing that also makes him switch bodies with Norman Osborn. We're not doing any of that. Instead, I'm putting him in the Raimi suit from the first movie. So how do we get this suit onto a 40-foot long apex predator? With the power of determination, aka 3D modeling. The first thing I did was download the Raimi model from the game to serve as a reference. I did take his eyes though, and sculpted them to fit on our T-Rex. And the next step was the raised webbing, which, by the way, is a superior webbing, as not only are webs not black, but the metallic silver helps catch the light and gives a lot of dimension to the suit. I still don't know why the MCU insists on keeping the black webbing when this one looks better on film, but I digress. Modeling it was simple. I just placed polygons down over my sculpt wherever I want a web line, then I inset those faces to give the required thickness. I used a solidify modifier to give them some height, and voila, we have our webbing. I found some reference for the chest emblem, modeled it, and applied it to our model. Now that we have the hard pieces, we can bring him into Substance Painter to paint on his suit. I gave him some black soles, and with this, we had our friendly formation, Spider-Rex. We also needed some outfits for Peter Parker, so I got some clothes and fit them onto our Rex to get his field trip outfit and his ridiculous trench coat. Now, exactly what are we making here? Unfortunately, due to budget and time constraints, as well as international copyright law, I cannot recreate the whole movie. So instead, I've taken the first two trailers from the first movie and spliced them together into a super trailer to add our Spider-Rex into. And I wanted to start nowhere else than with this iconic bridge jumping scene. So I brought in my footage, matched the camera as best I could, and matched my T-Rex's movements to Spider-Man's, doing what's called rotomation. I then did my best to match the lighting to make our model look like it belongs in the scene. This is where the major problem of the video began to show. Not because Blender would crash whenever I hit render, I'll get to that in a second, but if we look at the footage, you'll notice that Spider-Man is taking up most of the frame throughout, which is great for a Spider-Man movie, but not so great for Spider-Rex, as it means Spider-Man will be peeking behind him. But if we mask him out, we are left with a giant hole that we need to rebuild. And this is the real challenge. As you see, I initially started this project 3 years ago, but at the time, rebuilding all these backgrounds seemed impossible and way too time consuming, which is why I put the project on ice and focused on other things. But now I'm stronger and more powerful, and I believe I can do this. As for why Blender kept crashing, my guess is because the project files are 3 years old. But who knows, 3D is just weird like that sometimes. Instead of rendering with Blender, I chose to bring everything into Baby Girl Unreal Engine and use that instead. So I again matched the lighting as best I could and hit render. But it was now time to tackle the shot that had dissuaded me so many years ago. So I brought it into After Effects, and armed with content-aware fill, the remove tool in Photoshop, and self-belief, I painted out Spider-Man. A lot of it was just taking bits of the clip where Spider-Man wasn't showing, turning them into still frames, then tracking them back in to cover Spidey. It's not perfect, but it did the job and made me believe the rest of the clips were doable. I can then bring in our render, make sure he's properly placed, match the black levels, and voila, our first finished shot. And a lot of the music, stock footage, textures, and graphics I used are powered by something I use not only for my videos, but today's sponsor, Storyblocks. You see that awesome Marvel style logo in the beginning came directly from a Storyblocks template. This background I used for a shot, Storyblocks footage. Unlike other stock footage websites where you have to buy annoying credits to use their content and hope it works out, Storyblocks gives you unlimited downloads at one predictable price. Whether it's 4K footage, textures, or music, I can grab whatever I want to text and experiment without wasting my money. If I don't like something, no problem. I can just download something else and try again. And you can choose between a monthly or annual plan with no hidden or extra fees. Plus, you don't need to ruin your edits with AI slop. Storyblocks features a 100% human-made library, and you can even integrate it directly into Premiere or your editing software of choice. So their entire library can be at your fingertips. Stock footage and templates like this save members an average of 3.5 hours per week, making them integral to leveling up your video and content. So stop wasting time and start creating. To get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/filmcore or click my link in the description to get started. But this is a basic workflow for the entire trailer. I did the same for the funeral scene, which is where his ridiculous trench coat comes in, and I just had to animate him moving forward. Now, arguably the most complicated shot in the entire thing was this one. A seemingly innocuous shot until you realize that Peter takes off his mask, which is more complicated than you'd think to do in 3D, which is why the movies always cut away when he puts the mask on, or they just start the shot with a mask already half open. But this is how I did it. First, I cut off his head. Don't worry, he's fine. This gave me his mask. I pinpointed the frame where I wanted it to start coming off, applied the armature to hold him in that pose, and then parented it to the hand bone. We need to add holes for the mask to come off properly. I cut out his mouth, I included the Peter model as a collision object, and finally added a cloth simulation, which gave us this. One more attempt, this time adding a split on the other side of his mask so it can open up. However, we're still missing the eyes. We can't just add them into the other simulation as the computer doesn't know that they need to be attached. Instead, we can bind them to the simulation using a surface deform modifier. More painting out, adding in my Rex, and considering there's no way for a T-Rex to put on a mask in the first place, I think it looks pretty damn good. One of the most important things was showing how Spider-Rex got his powers, as a superhero is only as good as his origin story. Again, we're not doing the media thing from the comics. Instead, I'm going to have him be bitten by a radioactive prehistoric spider. I animated him just walking, sniffing, and hanging around. Then I built a prehistoric forest with Maui assets in Unreal. So good, so good. I brought in my animation, got this spider model, made it red and blue, got some webs which didn't want to cooperate with the depth of field inside of Unreal Engine, but oh well, and I was able to build this scene for how our Peter Parker gets bitten. And this brings us to the bedroom scene where Peter Parker wakes up and sees the transformation that has taken place, and sees that he got abs overnight. I wish. I again matched the footage, which needed him to hold his glasses at eye level. But also for these mirror shots, because reflections can be a bit tricky to do in 3D, especially with Unreal Engine, I just used what's called the Lahane trick. I duplicated the Rex, flipped him, and essentially made him act in front of himself. I then painted Toby out, brought that into Unreal Engine, and framed it to the shot. I can then just render it out, apply the slight movement from the original footage, add in any foreground objects as well as the mirror refraction, and voila, it needed almost no compositing. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. We need to give our T-Rex some abs, which is yet another thing I never thought I'd have to say or do. I took our base model and just sculpted some well-defined abs in Blender. I exported that out, then we simply dial it up as needed. This was a very weird thing to do. I hope you guys appreciate that. And now for arguably the most labor-intensive shots in the full thing, the cafeteria. Instead of 3D tracking, I just stabilized the footage, which made animation fairly easy to match to. Building the scene and getting the 3D renders was the easy part. The difficult bit was painting Toby out of all the shots where he and MJ interact as guys in the whole frame. I masked out the tray, I masked out the fruit, then I exported the T-Rex render with a depth pass, which allowed me to easily place the tray behind the front of his snout to make it look like he was biting it. I then sandwiched everything together to get this.
Wow!
For the next shot, since the tray is no longer visible, I had to make one in 3D. It was all free assets except for the sandwich. For some reason, I couldn't find a good free 3D sandwich model, like a normal plain sandwich, like the really crappy one that you see in the movie, which I think is just 2 pieces of bread. I don't even think there's a meat in there. All the ones I found were like artisan bread, so I had to quickly model up my own. If any 3D scanners are watching, next time you make a sandwich for lunch, just 3D scan it and upload it. Like, I'd be grateful, I'm sure others would too. We need more 3D sandwiches. What followed were the swinging shots, which are probably the most fun. I just block out his overall trajectory with his main parent bone, then animate his limbs and body to look right. The real trick here is to ensure the animation works from all angles. I know people probably care most about these shots, but they were actually the least complicated to do since Spidey is framed fairly small and the camera isn't doing crazy things. And now for how to do 3D webs. Actually, I don't know. I just extended the ones that already exist. And we had all the shots of our prehistoric hero. But heroes are only as good as their villains, and Spidey Rexy needs his greatest foe, the Green Terra Goblin, which is a Pteranodon version of the Green Goblin. Again, no models of him exist, so it was up to me. However, there's no way in hell I'm going to model the Green Goblin armor by hand. That thing looks complicated. So thankfully, I found this 3D print model of the Green Goblin, which saved me a lot of time to focus on other things, like important business meetings. I brought it into Blender and moved everything around to fit on the pterosaur body. However, the 3D print was a bit too polygon heavy to work for the soft pieces like his leather suit. So I had to remodel that by hand, including the helmet, which needed that beak. I textured him up, gave him a rig, and we had our Gobby.
You're too late, Spider-Man! Weed has been
I animated him into all the shots where he's flying around, painted him out, rendered and added him in. By now you get the gist. But we also need his true identity, Willem Dafoe. I mean Norman Osborn. So I found this suit, put it on our Pteranodon, and could use it for the shots that needed Willem, I mean Norman. I probably could have done a slightly better job with these paintouts, but I think it gets the job done. I was tired. For the chimney scene, I just used a still image tracked to the camera movement, then used After Effects Juice to bring in some fire and elements. Check out my affiliate link in the description, it's super helpful. And no trailer would be finished without a title sequence to tie it all together. I found the PS3 font, made the titles in Blender, matched the camera to the footage, and brought it into Unreal for lighting and the final render. A little bit of After Effects to get this glow was the finishing touch. And lastly, as funny as it be to just have these guys be roaring throughout, they do need to talk. So I reached out to Zachary Brown, who provided some great voice work for both Spider-Rex and the Green Terra Goblin. And now, with everything else out of the way, and without further ado, here is our trailer for Spider-Rex.
Who am I? Are you sure you want to know? If somebody told you I was just your average ordinary theropod, not a care in the world, somebody lied. Truth is, it wasn't always like this. There was a time when life was a lot less complicated.
In this formation, we have 15 genetically enhanced prehistoric super spiders.
There's 14. One's missing. Peter, are you all right?
I'm fine.
Wow.
Peter, may I introduce my father, Norman Osborn?
Great honor to meet you, sir.
Harry tells me you're quite the dinosaur. You know, I'm something of a dinosaur myself.
Pterosaurs aren't dinosaurs.
We must kill Peter Parker.
What the hell is that?
Whatever it is, someone has to eat it.
With great power comes great responsibility.
This is my gift.
Wow.
This is my curse.
Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Spider-Rex.
Again, thank you to Storyblocks for sponsoring this video. Check out my link below to get started. Also, special thank you to my channel members and Patreons, some of which got to see the clip early. Consider becoming a member or Patreon to help out the channel. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Tell me what you thought of my Spider-Rex trailer, subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon.